Hi everyone, it's Andrea over at Sewspire.com, and today we are going to make this absolutely darling zippered pouch that was inspired by the LL Bean pouch there. It has the zipper across the top. I used the Annie's Soft and Stable, so has nice padding there, and it is fully lined with a coordinating print. Really darling. I think we're coming in at about 6 across the base, 8 across the top, and 7 along the side here, and then just under 3 inches across the base. So it's a really great size for everyday use. You could put a small collection of gifts inside of this, and it coordinates beautifully with the chapstick fobs, which we made on Friday. I will link to this tutorial down below. You could put that together and have a really lovely gift set. So without further ado, shall we get started? Okay, so the first thing that we want to do for this project is to piece together our exterior panel. So you're going to need 2 of the top panels, which I'm using a home decor fabric, a woven fabric there, and these 2 top panels are 6 inches tall by 10 inches across. And then the base panel is crafted from a faux leather. You could use any non-fraying material. For that matter, you really could use a home decor or a cotton fabric. I just like the wipeable, durable fabrics for the base of this, if this helps you. And this base panel here is 4 inches tall by 10 inches across. And then I have notched out 1.5 inch squares from each of the left and right hand corners at the base. I also attached my label there and reserve those 1.5 inch notches of the faux leather because that's what we're going to use to cap the zipper. So the first thing that you need to do is take your base panel and your top panel and position those right sides facing, and then using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, join those 2 panels. And that's what your panel looks like after you have joined it. Then you're going to need to back that with your choice of interfacing. I'm using the Annie's Soft and Stable. It's a foam. It's about 1/4 inch thick, and it is wonderful for the little zipper pouches. So I want to position this panel on top of that Annie's and smooth that all out. And then I'm going to go ahead and run several rows of top stitching across the fabric there, 1/4 inch up from the leather. And that's going to tack that panel down to the foam, and it's also going to add a nice accent. And I'm just using regular Gutermann thread here, but I ran across that 4 times to give that nice thick stitch line, which really delineates the top and the bottom of this project. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, and so hopefully you can see how thick that stitching is, and it really, I think, adds a lot of definition. So because I have not yet perfected that straight line stitching, I like to come back in with a little fabric marker that's about the same color as my thread, and I just kind of dot that across there, and it fills in those little gaps And it kind of actually makes the thread look like it's variegated, but it's really just a cosmetic kind of buffing tool, if you will, for this nice thick stitching. You could also use upholstery weight thread, and then you would just run one row across there, but this, I think, is another fun way to add detail to your projects. So the next thing for me to do is to notch out my little 1.5 inch corners from the bottom left and right sides of this base, and I'm just using my foam corner from that first panel as my template. I already have reserved my little leather pieces for the zipper, so you could just put this second set of leather in your scrap pile because it really is perfect for those zipper ends, and save that for another project so you don't waste. So now on the exterior I have 2 panels with the top stitching the foam and the corners notched out of the base there. The next thing I want to do is prep my zipper. I am using Zipper by the Yard, so I took a 10-inch cut of the Zipper by the Yard. I threaded on the zipper pole, and then I positioned those little 1.5-inch tabs on the ends of the zipper, and I stitched right across there. And then I came back in, this is important, and I trimmed up that zipper so that it's going to stay out of that seam allowance when I'm attaching it. So the zipper ends up being shorter, but to keep everything nice and straight, I suggest you use the 10-inch zipper and then trim. And so I have my zipper all prepped. Just want to test that, make sure it functions well, and it does indeed. So I'm ready with that. Then I need to prep my interior panels, which these are just slightly larger than the exterior panel, and that is so that we can leave an opening to turn this. And so these interior panels are 9.5 inches tall by 10 inches across, and I have notched the same 1.5-inch corners from the bottom, right and left hand corners, and there are 2. So we are going to begin with one of the exterior panels right side up on the table there, and then I'll go ahead and open that zipper about halfway just to keep the zipper pull out of my way. And I'm going to position that zipper right sides facing along the top of that panel, and then I'm going to stitch that in place so the zipper tape is nice and even against the top of that panel. So you can see my zipper is attached to one side. Now I want to bring back over that second exterior panel, position it right sides facing on the table, right sides facing up on the table, and again I'm going to get that zipper pull into the center, and I'm going to position that opposite side that's free of that zipper tape right sides facing on that panel, and stitch across there using the 1/4 inch foot as my guide to attach that zipper tape to that second panel. Okay, and now I have my zipper securely sandwiched in between those exterior layers. And again, that's functioning really nice. So now I want to position this project right sides facing down and bring over one of my interior panels. The top is the part that is not notched. I'm going to position the right side of that interior fabric against the back side of the exterior, and I just want to line that up with that top zipper tape. And the clips are wonderful for this. So if you can imagine, this interior lining is overlapping the zipper, and the very top edge of that is getting attached to the zipper tape. So you can't see the zipper at all there, but I'm just folding that over and I'm only attaching to one side of the zipper tape. And you may have to reach inside of there with the needle down, lift up the presser foot, and clear that zipper pull out of your way. Just don't forget to lower back down that presser foot. Okay, so now on the inside, I have my lining attached on one side. This is the wrong side of the zipper there. On the opposite side, still looks the same there. So I want to now pull back that lining I just attached so that I can see the opposite free side of the zipper tape there. I again have the inner facing up on the table, and my one lining is now right side facing up, and I'm going to take the remaining lining piece and position that right side facing down, aligning that top edge with that opposite zipper tape there, and I'll just use those clips to hold everything in place. And ideally you want the fabric and the zipper tape all aligned at the top. There's a view of that for you. And so now I'm just going to use that same 1/4 inch and stitch across there to join that fabric. And I will have to reach inside and clear that zipper pull. Just make sure again the needle's in the down position and you lower the presser foot. So now what I have is on the inside, when I peel back those layers, I have both of my lining panels right sides facing out, the zipper wrong side, and then when I flip that over, I have both of my exterior panels right side facing out and the zipper right side facing out. So everything is right side facing out. I want to position that with the exterior down, and I want to bring up my interior panels and let my exterior panels fall together. So now on this right hand side, I have my lining fabric, my interior. I'm going to put 2 clips there. I'm aligning these notches nice and tidy. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the exterior. I'm going to align the notches. And for this with the foam, it's nice to use these bigger clips. And also for the exterior, in addition to aligning the notches, you want to try to align the stitching on the side, or at least the leather on the side there. Okay. And so this this is what it looks like now. I have the lining right sides facing, the exterior right sides facing, and everything is aligned. I want to peek up in there and see if my zipper is open or closed. I'm going to open that zipper to the center, and I want to begin stitching at the side of the interior, and I'm going to stitch all the way down to this notch here on the exterior. I'm going to repeat that same process on the opposite side. I'm just stitching the sides here. I'm not going in the notches at all. And I'm going to use 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. I have now stitched just the sides there. I want to check and make sure all of the layers are captured in that stitch and everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and trim a bit back down to 1/4 inch through that foam, and when I get up towards the top I'll just angle that just a little bit. I don't want to mess with that zipper much, and that just reduces a little bit of the bulk there on the side. Now I want to stitch across the base of the exterior, and I can stay out of that notch again. I'm just stitching straight across the base of the exterior only. What that looks like, and again I'll trim that up to 1/4 inch. And now I want to reach in from the bottom there, go ahead and get that zipper open, and I want to align the side seam and the base seam of the exterior. Here's what that looks like there, and I'm going to stitch across there with the 3/8 of an inch to give this bag its depth. And I want to repeat that on the opposite side. That looks good, and then just want to make sure everything's even, and then I can trim that up to 1/4 inch. Alright, and the exterior is now done, so I'm going to peek inside of there and see how that looks. Cutie, cutie. Okay, the next step now is to stitch 1 inch from each of the sides along the base, and reinforce that really well with a back stitch. So I have an opening there in the center. I just have 1 inch of stitching along the side there, And now what I want to do is separate that lining so that I can get the side panel and the base panel aligned and give the lining its depth. And so now I'm going to stitch across there using the 3/8 of an inch. And then I want to do the same thing for the opposite corner. So you just have to get the lining separated. And then you're aligning the side and the base seam and stitching across. And now the interior is complete with the exception of this little hole here, which is how we're going to turn the bag right side out. And so the easiest way to do this is to really get that exterior in a nice ball. You obviously want to make sure your zipper is fully opened, and as soon as you're able, start getting some of that exterior through that little hole. I apologize if you guys can hear my chocolate Labrador snoring. He is sound asleep in the sun, very nearby. Sounds like a little old man. And so just be careful with this because you don't want to rip out that stitching in the base. So the faster you can get that exterior out, the safer you'll be. And my interior corners look really nice. Okay, so now the goal is to see the exterior. I love this faux leather. It is so beautiful. Oh my goodness, it's pretty. It's like a dark gray, if you can't tell. It actually matches my nails perfectly. Okay, now I want to reach in through that little hole that's still in the lining and poke out those base corners really well. Looks great. Beautiful. Okay, let's see how the zipper is looking. It's also looking very well. Nice and tidy. That little bit of the leather at the top there on the zipper is a nice accent. Okay, so I'm happy with how the exterior looks. You definitely want to inspect now and make sure that there's no repairs to be made. And if everything looks as you'd like, then the next thing to do is to poke out the corners on your interior. There's not any interfacing on that, so you kind of have to be gentle with those and get that lining to line up at that base seam. And then you have the option of hand stitching this shut. That would give you the finest finish if you have patience for that. Or you can just pop that right up on your machine and stitch across there. It would be nice for me to change out this thread so that this gray doesn't show up, but I'm not going to. That's what that looks like when you stitch across the base there. And again, if I would have selected a coordinating thread, you would barely notice that. But what I can do as an option is cut a little base for this interior from that faux leather and tuck it down in there. That would actually be a really nice way to conceal that stitching. So now all I have to do is just fit my lining inside of here, trim up any stray threads. And that just turned out absolutely marvelous. And the more I fiddle with that lining, the more it will cling to that foam. But I really love the shape and size of this. It's so fun. And the foam gives it a lot of body without adding weight to it. Really awesome. It would fit inside most handbags. It could make a really awesome little tech bag for chargers and cords like that because it's nicely padded. It obviously would be a darling cosmetic bag. There's really tons of uses for this. I mean, this might end up just being someone's actual clutch or purse, especially if you used a donut pole and you could attach a little wristlet fob to it. So that's something to consider. And this coordinates perfectly with the little chapstick holders that we made on Friday. I could easily attach this ring to that zipper pull and that would be a darling gift. So I will put the link to this tutorial in the notes for you so you can consider perhaps making a coordinating set for someone in your life. Yay, that was a really fun project. I hope you liked it too. I'd love to know what handmade gifts you are sewing for your friends and family this year. So please drop that down in the comments. And then I'd like to invite you to join me on Friday at 12 noon for another smaller handmade gift idea. And then I'll see you next Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern for a larger project. All right. So thank you so much for sewing with me today. It was an absolute pleasure. And until we meet again, as always, please know the creative genius in me will be celebrating the creative genius in you. I hope you have a beautiful day, everyone.